With a family of 9, my family absolutely loves spaghetti. It's so easy to put together. You can use it actually on many different things. We put it on, just the noodles alone. We'll do it with meatballs. We'll put it just on chicken breast. Super great. And it's such a good way to use the tomatoes from my garden. I've already prepped my vegetables by quartering my tomatoes and dicing my onions. The first thing I'll do is put my 20 pounds of tomatoes on the stove and get them to simmer for 20 minutes. While the tomatoes are softening, I prepare the rest of the ingredients. I add 1 onion to my pan, 3/4 a cup of minced garlic. You can mince this yourself, but I found it so much easier to just buy the pre-minced. 2 tablespoons of butter. This happens to be home churned butter, but you don't have to do that. You can just do it from a stick. And 1 tablespoon of olive oil. I'll then cook these on medium heat for 5 minutes. I then add 3 tablespoons of basil. I'll cook that for an additional 5 minutes and then set it aside. The next step in making the spaghetti sauce for me is just to run my tomatoes through the food mill. Everything is nice and soft now, and this food mill is fabulous because it pulls out all of the skin, all of the seeds. There might be the occasional seed that sneaks through, but it really does a good job. And then additionally, I like to use this honey strainer. I just put it on top of a bucket and it collects all of the pulp while letting the juice go through. Nice thing about that is then I don't have to worry about doing the cooking down for as long, because usually you do that for a couple of hours when you're making spaghetti sauce to make it thick enough. But doing this, you don't have to do that. You can also take the juice and can that up as well. So it kind of gives you a byproduct 2-in-1 and such a time saver. I really love it. Once the honey strainer starts to slow down as far as letting the juice through, I just kind of push things around with a spatula, and that helps speed it up a little. Depending on how thick I want my sauce, that determines how much of the juice I'm gonna pull out. At this point, you can see that all of the seeds and skin are still kind of floppy. They've got a lot of moisture in there, and most of that is in pulp. So what I like to do is just run it through a second time, and you can see how much more pulp there was there. So definitely worth it. My sauce is looking pretty good at this point. All I need to do is add my onion mixture, mix it in well, and look how thick it is. It just needs to get heated up. It does not need to cook down any. In fact, if you find that yours is too thick, you can always just add a little bit of the juice back into it. And then put it on the stove until it comes to a simmer. My next step is to ladle the sauce into the jars. I like to use the jar funnel. I'm using pint-sized jars today, and I'll fill them up to 1/2 of an inch of headspace, which is the space from the top of the food to the top of your jar. I need to make sure that I leave just a little bit of room so that I can put lemon juice at the top. The lemon juice increases the acidity to a point where you can actually do this in a boiling water bath. I just love using the food mill because I feel like it makes it so much faster. Having 7 kids, I'm always looking for time savers, and one of the things that was always difficult for me about making the sauce is that I have stuff going on with the kids, after school activities, that kind of a thing. And so it would make it extremely difficult to be able to simmer it all day without burning it. Sometimes I put the lemon juice in before it's full, just so that I don't forget. And it will be 1 tablespoon of lemon juice per jar. If you decide to do these in quart-sized jars, then you'll need 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. I then wash off the rims just to make sure that nothing will interfere with the seal of the lids. And then I put my rings on fingertip tight. That just means you don't want to crank them on, but you don't want them falling off either. If they're on too tight, then they can't lose the air that's inside them and create the vacuum. So that's why it's kind of important. The headspace has to do with the vacuum idea too, so also important. Then I'll load them in my boiling water bath and I'll process them for 35 minutes if I was at sea level, but since I'm at 1,200 feet, I'll process them for 40. Now I'll set the timer for 40 minutes. Now that the timer's gone off, I'll turn off the heat and remove the lid, and then I'll let it cool down for 5 minutes. Now that these have cooled down for the 5 minutes, I'll remove them, and you want to place them on something that's not going to have trouble with heat. A lot of times I'll do a towel or a placemat or something. And then you make sure that you leave about an inch in between each so that they can cool down quickly. And I'll leave these out for about 24 hours. That allows them to cool down sufficiently and get a good seal. So tomorrow I'll come and I'll remove the rings, and then I'll just wash the outside of it, paying particular attention to the threads around the top. So now it's time for the taste test. This is the part that I always wish that I could share with you. So it's just a light, flavorful spaghetti sauce. My favorite thing to do is like an Italian sausage in here because those seasonings go so great with it.